Hi, and welcome back to part 4 of High Frequency Nutrition. This segment happens to be on fruit. So think about all your favorite fruits. Ask yourself, is it GMO? Is it something that you enjoy eating a lot of? Does it make you sick? Does it make you bloated? Does it give you gas? Does it irritate your skin? There's all kinds of things in there that you want to know about. I happen to like fig jam, but I have trouble finding it without high fructose corn syrup. So things like that. So with fruit, always read the labels. Where is it from? Are the regulations such that they don't use heavy pesticides and fertilizers? Is it a GMO? If it is, then you're looking at a fruit which you need a lot of that is what's that hair doing there? That is something that needs to not be GMO for you. Okay, and I tell you, this is going to drive me nuts. Anyway, so find products, ingredients, your fruit, non-GMO. Make sure, it's from a country that has high standards for growing, cultivation. And hopefully you can choose organic. But if you are looking at things like jams or just the canned fruit, something like that, make sure you do not have high fructose corn syrup in there. Choose sources that don't have dairy added to the product, that don't have gluten added to the product, that are organic, that doesn't have corn of any kind, dextrose, maltodextrose, any of that added to it. To me, it sort of negates the purpose of eating the fruit to begin with. So if you choose canned options, always check whatever sweetener source they're putting in there. And if it is non-GMO and the preservatives, what they are, if you can find that up, you may have to shop out of the box, meaning go Google it, go pull that label up, go to the manufacturer, pull it up, and research it. Is it a consumer friendly, healthy company? Okay. I wouldn't buy anything from certain companies because they're notorious at lawsuits, at killing off people, causing cancers. They put ingredients in their foods. I just got something today about, God, I get so much stuff. Ingredient that they're adding to foods to make it be preserved longer, and you don't need that. That's why it's raw. So big manufacturers use a lot of preservatives, they use a lot of dyes, and they use they use GMO, so genetically modified ingredients, because they're cheaper. And so their cost of production is lower. And that is exactly what you're consuming, lower standards. Cheaper is not better for your health, especially if you already have to have a restricted diet because you're not eating gluten, dairy, or corn products. So if your diet is already limited and you're missing certain nutrients in your daily diet that you would have had normally, you're eating a compromised way, unless you're taking supplements, or maybe you're over consuming and you've done the research, worked with a nutritionist to find sources of food that will still benefit you and still give you the nutrients that you have. My diet, I have very little B1 and B vitamins in it. I do have like the 6s and 12s and things like that, but the B's 1, 2s, and 3s, I don't, so I have to supplement with those. Mosquitoes love me, so I am now taking a lot of B1 until I can get that built up in my bloodstream. You can have your apples, peaches, fresh, raw, juiced, diced. You can get a dehydrator and turn them into chips. Canned, you can make your jams, and you can freeze your fruit. So freeze it in the bags or with the sealer that you don't need to add anything to it. That is your best way of freezing food. Also, when you are making jams, watch the ingredients and what you're putting into it. You can always substitute. Just like we did with our vegetables and with our meats, we can always substitute regular vinegar for canning products when you're doing that with apple cider vinegar products or wine vinegar products. Those are always going to be my go-tos when I'm canning and preserving. And instead of that regular, I think they call it iodized salt, I will use a Himalayan salt, and I get just as good, if not better, results. Even when I'm canning fish and like my clams and things like that. So bananas, you can always, of course, eat those raw and fresh. You can turn them into some dried chips, and you can freeze them. A lot of people will keep a group of bananas, and then maybe one of them goes bad, and they put it in the freezer and keep that for a while, and then they're making banana bread out of it someday. When you are really allergic to things like molds and your autoimmune system has gone really sensitive or severe on you, you have reactions to a lot of things, overripe fruit is not your friend. So over ripening those bananas and freezing them, yeah, not your friend. Not your friend. Mangoes, papayas, pineapple. I love, love, love pineapple. And there's a pink pineapple that doesn't have the citric acid in it that so many people can become allergic to. So if you can, but they're very, very expensive. But if you can find them, put it on your bucket list. They're worth a try. Mangoes, I'm not really fond of that fruit for some reason. I lived in Hawaii, and I think I just got burned out on it. But I still love the papayas and the pineapples, so bring those on. You can also take papayas and pineapples in supplement forms, and they're really good enzymes to help you digest your food. So if your food isn't digesting, you're not absorbing well, have some fruit, papaya or pineapples, at the end of your meal. And that does help with digestion. It helps the acids in them help to assimilate the fats, and it's just so much more absorbable. Plus it adds like a delicious dessert treat at the end of the meal. You can do dried bits on all of those. You can can all of it. You can keep it frozen. So fruit is just a really, really wonderful, wonderful thing to have around. I buy it fresh. I buy it canned. I dehydrate some. I buy frozen. Dried. I love dried apricots. Oh my gosh, I love dried apricots. And, canned as well. I just have to be careful to not find the high fructose corn syrup in them. I look for an inert organic sugar, or I don't buy anything that's been pre-sweetened at all. So plums, and fresh, dried, frozen, canned. They're all wonderful. The dried becomes a prune, but that is so good for you. Really, really, all the fiber in those really, really helps your digestive tract, your eliminations. The enzymes in fruit are just irreplaceable. I don't know that you can really take enough supplements to weigh out the difference. I may be wrong on this, but I'd much rather have the whole, the fresh, or the dried. And I still do use quite a bit of frozen fruit in my smoothies and my shakes that I have when I'm doing my detox weekend every month. So with that being said, melon, any kind of melon, watermelon, cantaloupe, all the varieties, it doesn't matter what the variety is, eat it separately. Melon has a nice off-gassing methylation component to it, and it can methylate or ferment, and the other food that you think you're safe with, that you've enjoyed for a long time, if you combine that with melon, you're liable to get real gassy, real bloated, maybe even a diarrhea situation going on. So try to only eat melons in isolated, away from a meal, or highly before a meal, as a treat and appetizer situation, that kind of thing. But eat it alone. Okay, give yourself about an hour in there, hour and a half, between consuming a melon and a meal, or a meal and then consuming the melon. I think you'll find that the melon is much more enjoyable. So sometimes I have my coffee and a piece of toast, or a fig on my toast, and then around 11, I'll have that early in the morning, and I take my supplements and get myself together and do my yoga and do my meditation and check out, spiritually what's coming in that I need to address. And then maybe around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I get a hankering for something else, but I'm not really ready for a full meal. So that's when I'll have a cantaloupe or some watermelon if it's fresh. And that's very, very enjoyable for me. And it helps me kind of start a little bit of a detox. It kind of supports the kidneys a little bit. Don't overindulge in it, or your kidneys are going to say, what? So with that being said, enjoy your fruit, because there's nothing else that's as good as fresh fruit. Plant a lot of trees. Plant some blueberry trees, peach trees. I love peach trees. Apple trees of any kind. I've grown some pineapple myself. That was quite the experiment, but it worked really well. And it had 2 babies the first year. And then I planted them again, had another offshoot, planted it again, and I had 3 babies the next year. So planting a pineapple was really cool. I've never done a banana tree, but a lot of my friends have had banana trees. And I have been able to have an olive tree. That was really nice. I love olives. In any way, shape, or form I can get an olive. I love it. I know that's not a fruit, but it was from a tree. So that's where it came into my mind. But try to grow your own as much as you can. When I lived in Phoenix, Scottsdale, even Sun City, we had a lot of fruit trees, and we didn't let them do the painting, which kind of ruins the flavor of the tree or the fruit. And we kept them. We had grapefruit, we have oranges, lemons, of course, some limes, the great big oranges. I can't remember the name of them. Valencia or something. Gigantic. Fabulous trees. And those are wonderful. Citrus is good if you can tolerate it. Some people cannot tolerate it at all. So with that being said, be careful that you are eating the fruits, nuts, the vegetables, and the protein sources that your blood type or your allergy panel and profile will support and is better absorbed by your body. I did some DNA testing and found out that my liver's quite slow. It's not damaged. I'm just genetically predispositioned to not metabolizing things as fast. So I do better if I only eat twice a day. So I definitely have my breakfast, and I definitely have some kind of dinner or a lunch thing in 2 o'clock, somewhere around there. And if it's a dinner, then it's closer to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. But I eat early, and that way I feel more relaxed and more mellow. I may have fruit just before I go to bed, or a couple hours before I go to bed if I'm watching a movie or something. And that's about it. If I'm traveling, it's fruit and nuts, fruit and nuts, fruit and nuts, fruit and nuts, and a lot of water. I drink a lot of water. I stop about every hour and see what the neighborhoods look like. I've also been known to go off-road and find a little spot to go to the bathroom in. So with that being said, I still have to have my fruit and nuts, and I need to maintain my hydration levels. So you do what you have to do, but you stay healthy. You make your best organic, freshest choices without preservatives and without dyes. Dyes is becoming a very big problem with children. In some of the grade schools and even preschools, the teachers have to really watch for the red dyes. They're just off the chart. These children are just not being able to manage any of those dyes and preservatives. So if they're bothering the next generation, it's your generation that caused it. So lighten up, don't eat it. Especially if you're going to have children later on. It's not good for them. And it's not good for you either. You're just not feeling the effects. Your DNA hasn't been radiated enough, broken down enough, deteriorated enough, mutated enough. But by abstaining, you make better choices. By choosing the best quality, from the best sources. You can make it a wonderful exploration game, adventure, to find the best of the best in every area, every culture, every region that you're in, and taste it. See what it does to you. Note it. I journal my food when I travel because it helps me to know what happened. Sometimes you're traveling, you're going so fast, you're moving so fast, you're doing so many things. I don't know what happened to me. And recently I was in a town that served green beans, which I normally, it's okay, it's a green bean, and they had garlic in them. And so I ate them, a couple of them, and then all of a sudden my throat kind of closed up a little bit. That got real raspy, and I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? What's on this? And I looked at everything on my plate, and the green beans, even though I could distinctly see the garlic, there was something else a little fuzzier, not as minced as the garlic would normally be. And so I picked it up and looked at it closer on my fork, and I realized it was Parmesan cheese. And so, of course, I immediately started taking my antihistamines and histamine blockers. I think I took histamine pathway 2 and 4 so that I wouldn't have reactions. I still had a reaction, just not as severe. It took it about 24 hours to show up, and I got the hugest blisters on my toes and one on my finger, but it's almost gone. So with that being said, make your choices wisely. make them with love for yourself. And enjoy. Enjoy the fruit. Enjoy the nuts. Enjoy the vegetables. Do it safely and do it mindfully. Mwah.